Here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day as always. And coming up, it's NFL schedule release day. Now, the entire Niners 2024 schedule has not been released. The NFL will make that announcement 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. But we do have some games that have been leaked so far, and we're going to talk about those matchups coming up on the show. Also, we're going to discuss the most underrated player on this Niners roster. Stay tuned for that. As for the schedule leaks, let's run through the games that we know as of right now, and I have a lot of thoughts on this schedule. Week 1, this was announced yesterday, and we talked about it on the show, that San Francisco will open up at Levi's Stadium against the New York Jets. The first time in a couple of years that they're going to begin the season inside the friendly confines of Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. Then, from there on out, a couple of leaks, and then this Week 7 game against the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl rematch, that is confirmed. It looks as though the Niners are going to go on the road to play the Minnesota Vikings Week 2. Will we get former Niner Sam Darnold at quarterback or the rookie J.J. McCarthy? Week 6 against the Seattle Seahawks, Thursday Night Football. Week 7, the Super Bowl 58 rematch against Kansas City. Week 8, the Niners will host the Dallas Cowboys, primetime Sunday Night Football. Week 10, Niners go all the way across the country, NorCal, all the way down to Tampa to play the Buccaneers. Week 12, on the road against the Green Bay Packers. At that point, weather probably going to be a little bit chilly at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Then the Niners, after that, stay in that region, cold climate, Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. Week 15, San Francisco will host the Los Angeles Rams, NFC West tilt on Thursday Night Football. So a couple of Thursday night slates here for San Francisco. And then a big one, the second to last week of the regular season, the NFC Championship game rematch, as the Niners will host the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football. When you have a team that's been this good, when you have a roster that is this talented, and when you have a team that is set up once again to make a run at a Super Bowl, and you have a worldwide iconic brand that is, of course, very popular in America as well, and a team that always draws television ratings, you're going to play in a lot of primetime games. Now, some thoughts on this schedule and the leaks that we know so far. Jets and Vikings Week 1 and 2, it's not easy. And you might look at the New York Jets as an opponent that the Niners should definitely beat. If Aaron Rodgers is healthy, they've bulked up that offensive line, and their defense is one of the best in the entire NFL. Robert Saleh is very familiar with Kyle Shanahan's offense, so that's a tough matchup. Prime time, Aaron Rodgers finally coming back off the torn Achilles. He's going to want to prove himself to all of the detractors and the people who have tried to cancel him. And then week 2, you go on the road to play Minnesota. And Minnesota is in this phase where it's probably a transition year. But the Niners have not won on the road against Minnesota since 1992. It's one of those sports statistics and trends that makes no sense at all. And then later on in the year, in consecutive weeks, Seahawks, always a difficult game. Mike McDonald, I think, is going to bring a great level of defensive energy to that team. They've been bad defensively the last couple of years under Pete Carroll. Then you have the Super Bowl rematch against Kansas City. That's a home game. And then the Dallas Cowboys at home. And those Chiefs-Cowboys games and that Seahawks game, those are all primetime matchups in a row. So those are tough matchups for San Francisco, too. 5 primetime games as of right now, because the Niners play on the West Coast. They don't often play a lot of those 1 o'clock Eastern games, so you're going to have a lot of primetime slots in the evening, but then some of those primetime slots in the afternoon window, which is the early afternoon window for those of you on the West Coast. This has been confirmed. Last year, there was a Christmas game for the Niners. This year, no Christmas game for San Francisco. There is going to be 2 games. They're both going to be broadcast on Netflix. So this year, we're going to see a bunch of NFL games on a bunch of different streaming services, from Amazon to Peacock to Netflix, but the Niners will not be playing a Christmas game, so you can all open up your presents and not have to worry about sometimes the stress, sometimes the cheering that ensues by rooting on the Niners on Christmas. San Francisco also will not be traveling to London to play the Minnesota Vikings. We talked about that speculation last week. There was a video of Deebo Samuel saying, big news coming soon. And we already knew that the Vikings were confirmed to play in London. It's an October matchup. They will be playing the New York Jets, who will be going across the Atlantic Ocean. And the Niners made a lot of sense. They have that worldwide brand. They have a massive fan base located in London. And they would bring a lot of people to the stadium in the UK, and it would make for a cool atmosphere, but also draw some pretty good television ratings and then some good fan attendance for that game. Instead, it's going to be the Jets, it's going to be the Vikings, not the San Francisco 49ers playing in London, which I think is sometimes a good thing. It's cool to experience the international games. We'd have a lot of fun drinking mimosas here on the show during the watch party, but it's also a very early game, usually partaking on a Sunday. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, because as soon as the Niners schedule is out, we'll be breaking it down right here on the show with a lot of thoughts on the 2024 slate for San Francisco. Coming up next here on the show, who is the most underrated player on the 49ers roster? Stay tuned to find out. We're going to have a good conversation. But first, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick 2 or more players. You choose more or less on their projected stats, and you can win up to 25 times your money. You get a $100 deposit match as well by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Our selections for some NBA playoff action tonight: Al Horford, less than 18 points, rebounds, and assists. PJ Washington, he's been on a heater, more than 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And then Evan Mobley, more than 16.5 points. The Cavaliers without Donovan Mitchell. So I like the more for Evan Mobley there. Win big money, withdraw your winnings, pick more, pick less, all with Prize Picks, prizepicks.com/CLNS. As for the most underrated player on the San Francisco 49ers, I take stock in it. I believe it to be true. Pro Football Focus compiling a list of the most underrated players on all 32 teams in the National Football League. And for the Niners, they went with Deommodore Lenoir. I agree with Pro Football Focus here. Lenoir is bordering on becoming and being a Pro Bowl level dude in 2024, because last year in 2023, I thought he played spectacular football on the outside and then on the inside. And I think that positional versatility, how good he's been in coverage, only giving up 1 touchdown in coverage, he has just been quite the find for San Francisco in the 5th round out of Oregon. Here's the write-up from Pro Football Focus on Demo, great nickname too, by the way. While Lenoir, a former 5th round pick, became a starter in 2022, his true breakout came in 2023 in his 3rd year. After recording a 60.9 Pro Football Focus overall grade 2 years ago, Lenoir last year, 75.8 overall grade, which ranked 23rd at the position. He also lowered his passer rating allowed from 89 in 2022 to 75.7 this past year. And you look more in depth at what Lenoir was able to do. Started off playing outside cornerback, and then after the bye week, when Steve Wilkes and Kyle Shanahan elected to have Ambry Thomas on the outside, that's when Lenoir popped to the slot nickel, and he was tremendous. Now, I think long-term, he's better there because he's truly elite, and then on the outside, he's just very good. But I think going into 2024, given how well he's played inside-outside, the Niners might go with Lenoir and Ward on the outside, with 2nd-round pick Renardo Green getting an opportunity at that slot nickel role. Overall, Pro Football Focus grade, as we said, of 72.5 last year for Lenoir. What I think so underrated about his game, his ability and his willingness to be tough and physical against the run. He can set the edge, but he can come up and make tackles. He's a sure tackler and is physical in making tackles against pass catchers, but also against ball carriers too. A coverage grade of 72.6. He added 22 stops to the resume last year, had 3 picks, that passer rating really good, only gave up 1 touchdown in coverage, and you look at the snaps last year, 536 as an outside corner, 345 in the slot. And we're now talking about a player who was drafted in the 5th round out of Oregon. He's been in the league for 3 years, and he's played a lot right from the jump. Year 1, year 2, year 3. And he has only given up 4 touchdowns in coverage in his first 3 years in the National Football League. Who's to say he can't get better? And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him moving forward because he is in the final year of his rookie contract. No 5th-year option for non-first rounders. He's drafted later. And for San Francisco, they're going to have to make a decision here because he's earned himself a little bit of a bag, especially if he plays in 2024 like he performed in 2023. So do you think Lenoir is the most underrated player on the team? I think he is because, again, he's bordering on being that really elite player. If you think it's Lenoir, let me know down in the comments section. Is it somebody else? This is when I want to test your Niners roster knowledge. Drop that name down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you later for the full schedule release.